everybody. We're going to have a go at the figure on the horse. It's quite a tricky one. Obviously the background's not too bad at all, but it's a bit fiddly through the shirt and the hat, but it's quite doable. Just a bit of patience needed. So without ado, we shall get on. What I've done is I've printed my sheets. I've got an A3 printer, so I only have to print out 3 sheets and then stick them together. If you've got a smaller printer, you'll be sticking together 6 sheets. I think it was 6 sheets. But I've got A3, so I can get it down to 3 sheets. What I do, I'm going to work on 1 sheet at a time, just because of space wise. I've gone for the bigger size, because like I said, I think it's quite tricky, so I think the bigger size is the way forward on this particular one. But I'm just going to work on 1 sheet at a time. I've printed out the other sheets. They're here. And what I've done is I have just drawn a line over roughly where it's going to overlap onto the next sheet. So that's going to roughly overlap somewhere sort of there. So I've just roughly, so I've got an idea of where it's going to come down. So some of these pieces I probably won't put on this piece, if you see what I mean, this bit like here, until I'm ready to I'll put it onto this sheet. That makes sense. And as probably once I've got one of these, this figure done, I haven't decided whether I'm going to do the figure and the background, finish off the whole sheet, or just do the figure and the horse and then do the background as one bit. I'll work that out as we go along. But I'm going to work on 1 sheet just because it's easier space-wise. So this is printed out. As you know, I use parchment paper. So this is my piece of parchment paper that goes over the top. And then I use Fusible on my pieces of fabric. I use Wonder Under. And Wonder Under, you do have to use the iron to fix it, only temporarily. And Wonder Under will fix, if you iron right up to each piece, it's going to fix it all together. So if you want to have the ability to move things around still, you need to make sure that you're only fixing it right in the middle where none of the other fabrics are touching. Or spend half an hour just trying to pull it apart, which is usually what I do. So I've got a variety of blues and some greys as well for the shirt. So let's just make a start. This is what it's going to look like. So I need to think about which pieces to do first. Obviously this grey piece here, let me just put it into different, here we go. So this grey bit here, let me just highlight it up for you. That bit is the biggest part. So that's what I'll probably do is put that piece behind. So really I want to put all these smaller pieces on, and then I can do a more general cutout of that bigger piece. Somebody asked me the other day about how big an overlap and everything I do on the pieces. I don't do a very big overlap. I find the Wonder Under sticks really well together. But what I'll do occasionally is I kind of box areas in. So I'll so if we say I was doing this piece, I'd leave this piece till last and this piece till last, and I put all these other pieces around it, and then I just slap a piece of fabric, not carefully cut out, probably a bit bigger than I would normally use, behind, and that gives it a little bit more stability. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do, which bits am I going to do? I'm going to do this bit in here. So let's just take that away for a minute. Let's see if I can find somewhere to put it where it's not in your way and it's not in my way, but I can still see it. I use my colour version a lot. Okay, so it is basically, it's this piece here. That's the bit I'm talking about. So I just use my parchment paper to draw around it. So I can then cut and I need to think about the overall colours. So I've got this I'm going to use as the big space behind. So I then want to think about what colours to go on top. So I think I'm going to use that to run down there. So possibly, yeah, I think I'll go with, no I won't, because I'll use that to go across here. That's a bit thick and thick. That's the one. Have I got enough? These are all the scraps from my drawers. Yep, we should be okay. So I just cut around it. Right, okay. So with the Wonder Under, you do need to use a bit of heat on it just to adhere it down. It will still come off of my parchment paper, but what I would suggest is that you check that it does come off your parchment paper before putting loads and loads of pieces on and then finding it won't. There are some parchment paper, we call it greaseproof paper here in the UK, that don't give it up quite as easily as others do. And I'm presuming that parchment paper and greaseproof paper are the same. But over here, if you've got a piece of greaseproof paper, one side is just a fraction more rough than the other side. It's, I mean, we are talking fractions. And I always use this. I always use the shinier, smoother side to stick my pieces of fabric on, and then bizarrely I use the rougher side when I'm drawing out with my pencil, because the pencil line comes out darker. Excuse me, I'm just going to have a big tea. Right. Okay. So I'm then going to go on. I've already lost my pencil. There it is. So I'm going to now do this piece across here. yourself enough room, so we'll have to start that again. That goes all the way down to the bottom there. Right, let's start again. There we go, and there's just a bit in here that is going to be picked out. So that's that. So I'm going to use this for that. If you find it a bit tricky to cut out these shapes while holding it at the front, what you can do, I think, I think with one render you can actually stick it underneath. So what you can do with, with steamer thing, I think you can stick it under. I've not actually ever used steamer thing, so I know it's very popular. It's just way too expensive to buy here in the UK for the sheer amount that I use. So what you can do, if it's a bit tricky, just peel this back. I'll take that right off. Stick the side that you've just drawn down, so you're the right way round. Just roughly stick it on, and then you haven't got to hold it, it's much easier. Come back round to those and cut it out of it again. Try and do it as quickly as possible for you guys. You know, your cutting doesn't have to be so precise, because you're gonna butt fabric up to it anyway. You're not going to tell. There's only, you know, there's one or two spots, like when you're doing eyes and animals and things like that, sometimes you have to be a bit more precise, but especially these bits that are kind of right in the middle of things. Edges, yes, you have to be a bit more precise, but okay, so that will just go there. There we go, just give it a little bit of heat to stick it down. It will pull straight up again if you want it to. Okay, and I needed that bit just to cut out the pale bits. So put a bit of pale blue in there. Got a bit of flory fabric. And we'll just find out where it's got to go back down again. There you go, under there. And that fabric is what I'm going to use for this highlighted bit that runs down here as well. This bit here. So while I remember, I'm going to do that bit. And while I haven't lost a bit of fabric, that's usually the case, come to do it and then suddenly can't find what I'm looking for. So just draw it slightly over the edge, the fabric it's coming up to, and then I'm likely to put this fabric underneath that fabric. That off. Okay. Pretty cool. This is my first human figure. I haven't got to worry about a face either, which is even better. So now now you see what I was talking about, pockets. I've now got this whole piece here and this whole piece running here. So I can just do a very rough, so I'm just roughly going around the shape so that it's not going to stick out too much. And then whatever colour I'm going to put in there, you see what I'm going to put in there. No, it's not dark enough. What have we got? It's too dark. It's a bit dark as well. Something in between. Let me just have a look. That would work. It's quite nice. Maybe a bit green. I love this fabric. Let's go with that. It's just one of my favourite fabrics. Okay, so now I can just use this in the lighthouse quite a lot to make the waves look really cool. So it's just a rough cutout. When you put it on here, it's much bigger than the area it needs to be. I'm going to put it underneath, so it's going to just strengthen that whole area up. So just pull up all of these edges, plonk that under. There we go. And that's just going to give that whole shoulder area some good strength and stability. Okay. So just keep going back to my picture so that I can see it. I suggest that you do that as well. That's why I love having my I don't ever print out the colour picture because I just keep it on my tablet and have that in front of me. Okay, so onto here now. This is going to be a darker blue. There we go. So, let's see what I've got. I've still got this bit, but that might be quite nice to put around this bit here. And then I've got these bits here, which I'll use that colour. So I want it darker. How dark can I go? I've got to have some really dark stuff over here under the arm. So perhaps I will go with that. Oh, let's try that. Okay. I'm going to use that slightly thicker fabric. So I'm going to try and get it under as many edges as I can. Probably won't be able to get it behind the grey dominant bit at the back. When it comes to the stitching as well, some of these heavier pieces I tend to just do a little bit more stitching on them just to flatten them out a little bit more. I mean, it's not massively thick, it's just slightly thicker than some of the fancier stuff. And just remember that it just take a little bit more ironing. There we go. And let's just want this bit here. That's going to be the same colour as this. And work out which is the best, least wasteful bit to cut out. Okay. A new bin coming today, which is, you know, so exciting. I do struggle a bit with bins. I have dogs that like to go through the bins, so trying to find something that's a bit dog resistant. I mean, a lot of the time I just have a carrier bag hanging up, but the trouble is they've now worked out that they can rip a carrier bag. And even if there's absolutely nothing of interest in there for them, they just feel the need to do it. So I shall let you know how successful the new bin is. Right, so what do I want for that piece? We go with this. Nice bright day here in the UK. A bit windy though. sticking that end down because it's where I want it, and then I'm going to lift this up. I really want it to go under there. No, I don't want it under there, so just under that bit. And now we got these pockets again now, so I can just roughly cut a bit off, stick it behind. Okay, and a little bit. And there. It's coming together pretty quickly. I'm going to put this bit in here now. This is a good dark piece. Or am I? Because that runs off. I do kind of want it in there. Let's see if I can. To try and get this can match up here. Right, so let's have a look. So I can then draw that whole piece on. Cut it out. There we go. Just put that bit in, otherwise I'll forget it as well. Yeah, and I want something really nice and dark to go in there. So it's like giving the shadow of his arm. So I'm gonna. She got some denim, dark blue denim here, which would look really nice, I think. That's just blocking off that area in there quite nicely for me. So I'll be able to sling a piece in behind. So what I'm going to do is this bit up here. Just fill in all of those areas. Just slid away from me a bit. This left. It's William Morris design, I think. Is it going to fit on there? No. Got enough on here. Yes, just about. Making the most of all my little bits. Okay. There's a few more lines there, but I'm going to ignore them in there. Just do that all in one piece. Feel free to ignore what I've done. Feel free to ignore the lines that I've drawn on there so precisely. I do. If it looks okay, go with it. I do have a slight tendency to overcomplicate things a little bit, and because I'm on a very tight schedule of getting these things out every month, I don't have an awful lot of time to refine them. So you're gonna have to just go sometimes with what's looking okay. Okay, so that has now left me with this pocket, really. So that pocket has to come across this shoulder. And fill in all of that bit in the middle. So we can just roughly draw around there. This is the careful line that we need. That can go across there. And what do we need to do here? That can come down. We don't want to waste more than necessary. So that's the basic shape. So I've got this fabric here. Now this fabric has got a distinct line going through it, so I just want to make sure that I'm going with the shape of it, if you see what I mean. So I'm making sure it's going straight down. So I'm just going to cut this out to make it a little bit easier for me. So that goes down like that, and then I want this coming nice straight down, following those lines. So it's going to be like that. And remember, apart from that piece across the shoulder, the rest of it doesn't have to be amazingly cut out. We can just very quickly run around it. We obviously don't want to waste more than absolutely necessary, but this is all just going to add some stability to the whole thing. Let it come off there. Peel it off. So that's the important bit. That's going to come down like that. So I'm just going to carefully peel this back, and I'm going to make sure that I get that in the right position, and I'm going to actually stick that down so it's not moving around too much as I'm pulling all this stuff off. This is all kind of attached to itself, so it's adding it's not going to lose. I'm not going to lose bits, if you see what I mean, because they're all sort of attached to themselves. Okay. Not very well attached, so that's the only bit that's. And I'm just going to take that bit off. Just put this stuff back over. Try and get it all in the right places again. Just need this to come up a bit now, so I'm just going to untack it, just pull it up a bit. Now I haven't quite cut it right. I've got a really tiny little gap up here, but I'm not going to worry about it because I can just come along and put a piece in behind. There we go. So that's where I'm going to stop for this bit. I shall carry on, but you're already at 45 minutes, me blurting on. But you can see within a relatively short time, so 3 minutes really, we've got a good proportion of that shirt done. So once you get everything prepared, you can get it done, you know, relatively quickly. It's all the preparation bits really that take the time away from you. So I shall carry on with the shirt, and we'll come back another day to see maybe the horse. Should I do the horse next? Well, the horse's bum anyway. Right, bye for now.